So when does Gennady Golovkin plan on leaving camp for the fight?
We're going to fly to New York on Monday, October 12th.
Okay, great.
So we're going to fly early in the morning, and then we're going to, we'll be there all week. The media workout's going to be on Tuesday, press conference on Wednesday, and then the weigh-ins on Friday. That's the 5-week schedule.
Okay, so what are the plans as of right now? What's his daily routine like?
His daily routine he's training with Abel Sanchez up there, Big Bear Lake, but he runs in the mornings. I mean, it's a pretty standard routine, although he makes it very intense. He runs for an hour in the morning, does about an hour of stretching, and then takes the day and rests until about 3 o'clock. Then he trains for 3 hours in the boxing gym. He does his boxing routine. He'll spar 3 times a week, and then the other 2 days he does just boxing routine in the gym.
So obviously Golovkin's big goal is to unify the middleweight division.
Right.
After Lemieux,
that's
all he cares about.
Yeah.
So say if he beats Lemieux, what are his plans after? Who's a fighter that he really wants to fight again?
Well, the thing is, we positioned him. Took a lot of work, but he's positioned that the winner of the fight with him and Lemieux is guaranteed the winner of Cotto Canelo.
Oh, okay.
And they fight 1 month later. Gennady fights against David Lemieux October 17th at Madison Square Garden, and Cotto Canelo fight from Mandalay Bay November 21. They're both on pay-per-view, and so it's kind of a mini 4-man middleweight tournament to see who's the best middleweight, and that would be the next step after this fight if everything goes the right way.
So obviously right now you guys are just focused on Lemieux, but during his practice routine, is he also focusing on maybe Canelo and Cotto? Like, is he planning on the attack next?
I look ahead as a promoter. I have to come up with a strategy of his future fights, but him and Abel are 100% focused on David Lemieux. I mean, this is the toughest fight. Lemieux's the biggest puncher besides Gennady in the division, so you got the 2 biggest punchers in the division, the highest knockout percentage. So there's no way Gennady can really mentally focus on anything else than Lemieux, and also from his strategy and his game plan. So he's focused on the fight, and I always look forward to the next fights.
So I definitely heard there was a lot of negotiations, for the winner of the Cotto-Canelo fight and the winner of the Lemieux and Gennady fight. So how long did it actually come to place? Like, how long did it take to work it all out?
Well, in order for Cotto to fight Canelo, the WBC mandated that the winner has to fight the winner of Gennady and Lemieux.
Okay.
So otherwise, Cotto normally was mandated to fight Gennady. So in order for that fight, we didn't want to block that fight because that's a big fight. Cotto Canelo was a huge fight for this year, and in order not to block it, we agreed to let that fight go on if the winner is obligated to fight Gennady in the next fight.
Is there someone for the Canelo-Cotto fight? Is there someone Gennady wants to fight between those two?
No, he would go straight into that fight. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's the biggest fight. The winner of Gennady and Lemieux is going to be a unified champion between WBA, IBF, IBO, and the WBC interim, and then that gives them, the interim title gives them the mandatory position to fight the winner of for Cotto and Canelo. And so the 2 winners fight, that's going to be the biggest event for next year in boxing. So
absolutely, I agree.
There's nothing in between that. Yeah.
So, Gennady Golovkin is considered to be the deadliest man on earth. People say that he fights like he's in his prime.
Maybe not the deadliest, but the most dangerous puncher.
Most dangerous, exactly. People say that despite being in his 30s, he still fights like he's in his prime, like his early 20s.
Well, he looks like he's 22. 23
Definitely.
instead of 33. Yeah.
Definitely. Has his age, ever got to him? Is he concerned about his age? Is he thinking about retirement soon?
No. He still has so much to accomplish in boxing that he hasn't been able to. I mean, this is the first unification fight since I signed Gennady 4 years ago. The goal was to unify the titles, and David Lemieux, we have to give him a lot of credit because he's the first champion ever to agree to fight Gennady. So. Gennady's young in boxing terms because if you look at his defense is very underrated. He never gets hit really with a flush punch that's hard, and you don't see him, really swollen up or anything like that. So he does, and he's very in between fights. He lives very healthy, very clean. So I feel, and Abel feels, that he has a lot. a lot of years to go and a lot to accomplish in boxing.
Definitely. There's one particular fighter that fans seem to be really eager to see Gennady fight, and that's Andre Ward.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that as a possible matchup in the future?
You know, we've always said that the priority is for Gennady to unify the middleweight division. If a fight with Ward comes up, then I think it makes sense. I mean, it's kind of being built up now in the media and with the fans and things like that. You know, if there's a time where Gennady, because look, Cotto is still considered the lineal middleweight champion, so it doesn't really make sense to move up if you have the opportunity to unify. Now, if he's fighting regular fights, then it would make sense to do a fight with Ward. But right now, the goal is to fight Lemieux. If he's successful in that fight the winner of Cotto Canelo. If he's successful in that fight, then he'd want to unify with the WBO champion. And if Andre still fights at 168, which, you know, there's no guarantee he's still at 168, and you know, any of the comments that kind of go back and forth, we have a lot of respect for Andre, for his trainer Virgil Hunter. I have a good relationship with his manager James Prince. So, you know, when there's a war of words kind of going back and forth, that's really just rhetoric. It's not a matter of respect. But if that fight would come to pass, then that would definitely be a big fight.
Definitely. So people still don't believe that Mayweather's officially retiring. They still think he's going to come back. As he mentioned in his fight, that records are meant to be broken. And he's tied with Rocky Marciano, hence why fans think he's going to come back. But a fight that fans really want to see is a fight between Mayweather and Golovkin. If Mayweather were to come back, would Golovkin be up for it, or?
We've always said, you know, and Abel said that the only fighter that he thinks can beat Floyd is Gennady. And you know, Gennady normally fights at 160, but he just did his 30-day weigh-in for the WBC, and he weighed at 165. So he's really a small middleweight. He's weighed in 159 his last 3 fights. And he said that, again, the only fighter that he would go down in weight to fight would be Floyd, out of respect to Floyd's position as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter. I mean, Floyd says he's retired, so you can't take that away from him. He's accomplished a lot in his career. Certainly generated the most revenue of any boxer in the history of the sport. So you have to give him a lot of credit for that. If a fight, you know, if Gennady beats Lemieux, if he is able to fight the winner of Cotto Canelo, you know, certainly a fight between Floyd and Gennady at 154. I mean, that would be the next mega event. But you know, if Floyd stays retired, then there's nothing you can do. You can't force guys to fight. And Floyd's in a position in the sport that he can dictate, you know, who he fights, when he fights, you know, that type of thing. So he's really kind of stands alone at the top of the sport of boxing.
Definitely. There's something that fans got really mad about. Fans actually asked him about Gennady Golovkin during a press conference back in the day, and he actually had to ask who Gennady Golovkin was. And that actually really pissed off a lot of fans, considering the kind of attention Golovkin's getting right now. Did Golovkin ever hear about that, or?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of fighters, I think, were trying to ignore Gennady, or trying to make it sound like they didn't know about him. You know, Freddie said at one point that he never saw Gennady fight. But, you know, I have a good relationship with Freddie, and I know he's seen him fight. In fact, he came to a couple of his fights. He was in New York, and he was at Madison Square Garden. He was at the last fight at the Forum. But I don't know. I mean, it's just, you know, you can't blame Floyd or, you know, other fighters for answering a certain way. But I think certainly now, Gennady being one of the top fighters in the sport of boxing, I mean, it's just, you can't, you know, the thing about he doesn't generate enough money to fight him, or it doesn't generate, I'm not talking about Floyd, I'm just talking about in general. Those are the excuses we heard from other middleweight champions. And if you're fighting in the same division, you know, Gennady always wanted to prove who's the best in the middleweight division.
Definitely.
So, you know, Gennady now sold out. StubHub Center broke all the records at the StubHub Center for ticket sales. Had over 12,000 people at the Forum. Now he's going to sell out Madison Square Garden. We'll have over 20,000 people in Madison Square Garden. So, you know, he's on everybody's radar for fighters not wanting to have to answer a question about fighting Gennady. But at this point, he's really established himself as one of the most marketable fighters in the sport.
Definitely. Actually, people compare him to Manny Pacquiao due to him being so humble and as a talent. You know, he doesn't really use his mouth to, like, you know, generate money for fights and all that.
I'm Tom Loeffler, and you're watching Hooked on Boxing.